Here we are. Back again.
We're back.
Back again.
Look who's back again.
But again, I still have to double check or triple check every time. Audio's still good, even though I checked it before we went, faces live. But here we are again.
Hello and welcome to the Boost Over Ball podcast, your go-to place for everything Rocket League with your hosts, K-Cube, AJ Binky, and Red. So lean forward, lock in, and get ready to go Boost Over Ball.
Hello and welcome to the Boost Over Ball podcast. To listeners new and old, hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kyle, K-Cube on the left, and on the right, I got Red. What's up?
Howdy, howdy. Good to be back.
Your red light is looking extra red today.
It is. Very red.
Also, settle a question I've had. Is there a red light behind your Rocket League flag?
It's not. It can do red. I have it just set on I think it's called fire, and so it's just flickers from
pulses,
yellow, orange, and red.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, I see it. Yep.
Yeah, it's just a little light bar.
Okay. It looks good. So.
Thank you.
Gotta take
my own little corner.
Yep. I got my own little corner here too. I feel that. So, gotta take advantage of the face cam live episode so that we can show off the setups.
Absolutely.
But we got a FIFA E World Cup to wrap up. We got just a couple Reds roster rumors, and if we have any overtime questions from people in the chat or from on social media, we will get to those at the end of the episode as well. But they finally kind of maybe did it. Team Falcons won a grand final.
I wouldn't say kind of. They won a grand final. They won an international LAN.
But not under the Falcons banner.
Not under the Falcons banner, though. Yeah, that is correct.
If you're Falcons, are you mad about that?
No, because at the end of the day, it's still the same squad. It's the same guys, right?
Fair.
That's still good results for them as a whole. So I would say you're pretty happy, Falcons fan.
Fair. Well, are we ready to jump into the group results?
Let's do it.
Okay, so we recapped day one in our last episode because we recorded on Thursday to give some time for the update. But we will talk about both groups in its entirety. I'll take Group A. So in first place in Group A, we have Team Saudi Arabia, who, spoilers, won the whole event. First place with 28 points. In second place with 26 points, we have the Netherlands. In third place with 25, we have Belgium. And in fourth place, rounding out our qualifiers for the playoffs from Group A, we have Spain with 21. Just missing the cut in fifth, we have England with 19. In sixth, we have Germany at 18. In seventh, we have Australia with 8. And in eighth place, we have South Africa with 2 points.
Called it. I was 100% correct with my Group A predictions, except for with the top four making exactly in that order.
Yeah.
Called the top four.
You did indeed. So I said England over Spain, so an unfortunate miss on that one for me. But you want to go over Group B, and then we'll talk about all the things we want to talk about from groups at the end.
Sure thing. So Group B, topping the group, Team France with 36 points. Not a surprise there. Second in the group, Team Brazil with 31 points. Third being Morocco with 29 points. And rounding up the groups making the playoffs with Chile with 23 points. Just missing the cut, USA with 20 points. Argentina with 9. Portugal with 5. And finally, Turkey with 3. Alrighty. So, thoughts on those two groups? We'll go back to Group A. England. What happened? I'm gonna hit him with the what happened.
What happened? What happened?
Day two, they did not look like the England we thought they. Rough day two.
I feel like you can say that they didn't really look like the England we were expecting the whole time.
That is true. They had a lot of bumps throughout the 2 days for group stage. It's rough to start your day against Saudi, That's always going to be a tough matchup. So that 2-0 there is expected. They go on to beat Australia 2-0 in round 9. Then they draw with Spain, which ends up being a big deciding match for them. They beat Germany, draw with Belgium, lose to the Netherlands 0-2. It's just back and forth, very similar to USA, which we'll talk about here later. And then finally, round 14, the craziest storyline I think I've seen happen. I don't know if you were listening during K-Cube, but while the England versus South Africa match is going on, the Belgium versus Spain match is happening. And how it was going was Spain just had to win both games, and they were through no matter what. But not only did Spain not do that, they lost the first game by a -3 goal differential. So now we're getting close in goal differential. Game 1 of England versus South Africa, you're thinking, okay, this is going to be high scoring, right? I believe it was 7-0. Yeah, 7-0. So there's a +7 goal differential there. Now it's looking scary. Spain needs to win, and they need to win with more than a couple goals. Because you're thinking England's going to 2-0 South Africa. It's gonna be Freelo. Well, Spain does the job. They win in OT. However, South Africa, with the craziest upset of the tournament, in my opinion, goes on to beat England 2-1 in game 2. How do you go from winning 7-0 to losing 1-2 to South Africa? I will never know. But I mean, their fate was in their hands. England had everything set up for them to make top 4. They had to, if they won 2-0, they had the goal differential. It was golden. Then it just all fell. And I mean, you hate to see it as an England fan, but wow, the storyline was great.
It was indeed. I think the podcast Twitter account and Blue Sky tweeted out, "Well, it's not coming home today." So, it was not coming home. It was not the day for England. Similarly speaking, and this is like kind of a greater overall thought at the end. South Africa ends their group stage with 2 draws and 12 round. They lost 24 games. They actually lost 26 games total. They won 2 games. So,
yikes.
Yeah, only to be outdone by Turkey, who won 3 games. So that's
game of the day. You need to win this against a South African team that's just been getting demolished all day. You lose 1-2, lights get too bright. I mean, it's that's rough.
Yeah, and so realistically speaking, I feel as though Germany maybe could have had a better tournament and qualified. I think England definitely could have had a better tournament and qualified. I think the biggest surprise was the Netherlands doing as well as they did.
I would agree. Netherlands came to play. They were ready. I don't know what kind of boot camping they did over there before this, but they came to play and they showed out. Props to the Netherlands.
Indeed. So other than Netherlands being in second, Spain's a good team, Germany's a good team, England's a good team. I don't know that there's anything that jumps out and screams there's actually how in the hell did this happen?
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty straightforward for the most part. Nothing too crazy.
Okay. So Group B, and do we want to address the elephant in the room now, or do we want to talk about it at the very end when we do thoughts on the event as a whole?
We can talk about it. We can talk about it.
Okay. So first and foremost, France, 11 wins, 3 draws. They won 25 matches and dropped 3.
France, as expected, dominated the group. Not really surprised, but good lord, I mean, it wasn't close. Their goal differential probably well, but I mean, yeah, we knew that team was going to play strong, and play strong they did.
Yeah, no kidding. They dropped their first game of day 1 in round 7 to Brazil. They dropped their second game on day 2 in round 10 to Morocco. And they, last but certainly not least, they dropped their round 14 match, one of them, to Brazil. So dropping 2 games out of 4 possible against Brazil and 1 out of 4 against Morocco. And that is good for the best group stage of the event from any team in either group. They would have beaten Saudi Arabia by 8 points if there was a tiebreaker for that at all.
All right. The elephant in the room, obviously, we are America here. Team USA just missing out. Another fun storyline, though, for the group stage. Going into round 14, everything was tied for that 4th spot. It was between Chile and USA. The winner of the series would advance to the playoffs. USA hadn't looked the best for day 2, I will say. They got blown out by Morocco, which they had drawn against in the first round. They beat Argentina. They get blown out by Brazil. Not so blown out. They lose 2 close games to Brazil, a 2-3 and a 3-4 OT match. They then go on to beat Portugal handily, and then get blown out by France. By blown out, it looked like Zen was out there in online free play. That's how bad it looked. It did not look great. Chile, on the other hand, had a much better day, in my opinion. Even during their losses, it looked closer. It looked better. They just had the more steam going into it. So going into this round 14, all that needed to happen for USA to clinch was win a single game. They had to win 1 game because they had goal differential, and they had goal differential by like 6, I think. So they were chilling on that. Game 1 happens. We go to OT. 2 minutes 48 seconds later, Chile wins after a heartbreaker on the goal line. And then the final game, 4 minutes and 1 second OT. And this hurt watching as a USA fan. The USA had a ton of pressure this OT.
Blowing a lead in both games, too, I'd like to point out.
Yes, blew a lead in both games. Had a ton of pressure in game 2 OT going into it. Around the 4-minute mark, they put a shot on net, which looked like it was going in no matter what. And one of the Chilean players falls off of the crossbar and just absolutely sends it out of the net downfield and just essentially turns into a 2-on-1 breakaway. I believe Reynolds is the only one back, and he just gets demolished, essentially. The 2v1 play there, and it just turns into a free goal for Chile. That is a heartbreaking way to go out. All you had to do was win 1 game, and you lose both of the games in OT, and significantly long OTs. At the end of the day, Chile, you could tell Chile looked like the better team, even though they were losing. Just the speed of play, the aggression they had, the team plays they were having. It seemed like USA was in defense.
Yeah. We talked about it at the beginning of the event. They were going to lose to the teams that they were going to lose to: France, Brazil, most likely Morocco, and they needed to beat the teams that that were at or below them, which is Argentina, Portugal, Turkey, and Chile. So they pretty much did that. They take a shocking game off Morocco in round 1. They beat Argentina. They get swept by Brazil. They beat Portugal. They get swept by France. They beat Turkey, and they draw with Chile. You're figuring, okay, that's the 1 game against Morocco maybe cancels out a win over Chile, but looking back on it, if they win that game, they qualify. But moving into day 2, you're feeling pretty all right. You get swept by Morocco, you beat Argentina, you get swept by Brazil, you beat Portugal, you get swept by France, you beat Turkey. You've done what you're supposed to do. You've beaten the teams you're supposed to beat. You've set yourself up, win and you're in. And I figured, this is RMC. They're round 5 Swiss merchants. This is what they live for.
but there lies the issue. This ain't Swiss. This is group stages of the World Cup, and the lights too bright.
It certainly seems so. They, especially in game 2, going up 1-0, like for most of the game, I think that their final goal was in the last 30 seconds of the game, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe, Craig. I think there was 17 seconds.
Yeah. It's just
Tomorrow,
it's tough. It's tough for Team USA. But overall, not a terrible event for them. They did about where everyone expected. They'd either squeak in 4th or miss in 5th is kind of what I thought a lot of people were kind of expecting when this was the roster that was getting sent. And, we will talk about kind of our thoughts as a whole on this, but I think for now, let's, you ready to move on to playoffs?
Yep, let's move on to playoffs.
Okay. So in playoffs, they swap the group matchups. So the number 1 seed from Group A plays the number 4 seed from Group B. 2 plays 3, 4 plays, and vice versa, right? So our quarterfinal matchup: Saudi Arabia sweeps Chile 4-0, and 2-1, 5-0, 3-2, 3-2. So pretty cut and dry.
Pretty expected from that Saudi.
Close, but not really that close. In our second quarterfinal matchup, we have Brazil taking down Belgium 4-2. Belgium took a 1-0 series lead, and then Brazil won games 2, 3, 5, and 6. So notably, Belgium scored 1 goal in game 4, and that was enough to win. They scored 1 goal in game 2 and 3 in game 1, and that was it. Shutout in games 3, 5, and 6, as Brazil kind of walks all over them to advance to the semifinals. On the other side of the bracket, we have France sweeping Spain. Not really close. After a 1-0 game overtime game 1 win, no 1-goal games, even through a Spanish timeout. Nothing they could do to slow down France. And our last quarterfinal matchup, we have Morocco beating the Netherlands 4-1. Similarly, in that France-Spain match, the Netherlands win a 1-0 game in overtime in game 1, and Morocco realizes, hey, wait a minute, we're Morocco. We have Atachi, Nas, Strali. We're better, and they win 4 straight for the gentleman's sweep, which then sets us up for, in my opinion, probably the most entertaining match of the entire playoffs, and that would be France-Morocco. We have France defeating Morocco in Game 7, 1-0 to advance to the grand finals. France takes Game 1, 3, 5, and 7. Truly a back-and-forth kind of game. Series even. A great series to watch. If you were to go back and watch one, this is the one that I would recommend watching. And because on the other side of the bracket in the semifinals, we have Saudi Arabia sweeping Brazil. 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 7-3. So
at this point, Saudi's momentum train is very much left the station, and it is zooming. The Saudis looked like a different breed, and the grand finals prove that point very, very well.
They certainly did, because in game 1 of the grand finals, France wins 4-1, and you're thinking, uh-oh, is this another Team Falcons choke job in the grand finals after looking incredibly dominant? But they said, actually, you know what? We can win a grand final, and they won 4 straight. 1-0, 1-0, 6-1, and 3-2.
After that game 1, they truly hit the I understand it locked. I mean, it was like a switch.
Yeah.
Like even after the time, what's crazy is, game 1 they lose 4-1. They win game 2 and game 3 in OT by with 1 goal, and then France calls a timeout, and you're thinking, okay, that's when the momentum switches, right? You got one of the best coaches behind you at the helm at France. This is when the momentum changes, right? Wrong. Game 4, 6-1 Saudi Arabia. Game 5, 3-2 Saudi Arabia. So whatever was said in that timeout, they need to not ever say again, because it obviously didn't work.
Yeah, that's an incredible incredible showing from Saudi Arabia. They did everything that they needed to do and then some. Until that grand finals matchup, the last game that they even dropped was against the Netherlands in round 11, and it was game 1. And then they made it round 12, 13, 14, quarterfinals, semifinals, and into playoffs. They dropped one game between their victory and round 11 of the group stages. Truly a dominant performance from Saudi Arabia. I am very intrigued to kind of see what happens after, yet another, in Esports World Cup, a pretty dominant performance until they got to grand finals again. And, I'm hopeful that they can, at least for them, that they can carry this momentum moving forward into the new RLCS season. But time will tell if we get grand finals Falcons or Esports World Cup Falcons.
Will indeed. So just a couple notes and thoughts here on the event as a whole. Monkey Moon, member of Team Vitality and Team France, sets a new Rocket League record by surpassing the $900,000 mark in total career winnings. Congrats to Monkey Moon. It's kind of absurd to think about that number, that, hey, I've earned close to $1 million in Rocket League. Blows my mind.
Just from pricing too, not from salaries.
Yeah, not from salaries, not from bonuses. This is purely from just tournament winnings, which is absurd.
And a lot of that is from the past 2 years, or the past 3 years. 2 years.
2 years.
2 years. Esports World Cup, Worlds 2024, Worlds 2022.
Yep.
Wild.
And then just a couple thoughts here. Did Team USA underachieve? I think we kind of covered this, but I would say Team USA met expectations. We knew they were going to be either a top 8 or just outside a top 8 with the RMC roster. It was
They whelmed. They whelmed. They didn't overwhelm. They didn't underwhelm. They whelmed.
They whelmed. That is a fairly accurate way to put it. They whelmed.
They were there. They showed up.
Why are players? And then another question here: why are players not wanting to play only a USA problem? At least from what we heard from social media and from actual sources, obviously Team USA went through an entire roster change because the team didn't want to play. Do we know? We don't know exactly the reasons. Assumptions could be made considering it was 2/3 former G2, now most likely NRG and First Killer. Obviously there could be some chemistry issues there. There could have been.
We also saw those same two played Esports World Cup without Beast Mode, so it seems to me that they were probably the two that were willing. Again, nothing's confirmed. We don't know anything more than the rumors and the whisperings that we've heard, but nothing to confirm that. But yeah. I mean, they did. For people who didn't listen to the Chalked Cast like Esports Roundtable, they were talking with Farah about some of the FIFA E World Cup stuff, and he was like shocked that people didn't want to play. He's like, I don't understand why players don't want to play in off-season tournaments. He's like, if I didn't show up to an off-season tournament or something that my contract would be ripped up yesterday. Yeah. He's like, why is that a thing? I understand you want a little bit of an off season. Maybe you're getting burnt out. Maybe you've been playing too much, but I don't even think that's an issue, right? Like you look at the world leaderboards in 2s and 3s, and it's all EU players, EU and MENA players.
The only player that had a good excuse is Beast Mode, and that's because he's literally building a house. That is understandable why you don't want to go to the World Cup. You are physically building your home. Makes sense.
I mean, I still like. And we talked about it again last week, but and I'm a different person than they are, and I have different, things that are going on in my life. Like, I'd take a week and a half off work to go represent my country. I'd take a week and a half off work to go and just support them in the stands if it was paid for.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's
at the
not.
End of the day, we aren't the pro players.
This is very true.
We don't know what's going there.
Yeah, there could be way more to this. There could be way less to this. It may just be like, I don't really feel like going to Saudi Arabia. Riyadh's kind of far away. It's a lot of flying, a lot of time change.
Yeah, the jet lag is going to be wicked.
I mean, I kind of understand it. Like with Esports World Cup, as close to the World Championships as it was, right? Like with the jet lag and all that stuff. But like at the same time, I mean, like, what's your excuse this time? Like, there's nothing that you have to be back for. There's like, unless you have like personal things or IRL stuff, like you're not like in jeopardy of missing anything. You're still gonna like. It's December. Like the season's not starting until January anyway. You still got a month. That's just my opinion, at least. I feel like and again, we talked about it. Beast mode, house, totally fine, understand. But how good does a full USA A team roster of former G2 now probably NRG? What does that look like? Where do they finish? Do they top the group? Are they second because France?
For that group, I say they get second, or if they have a rough time, third with the format. But I still think they place top at least.
I think so too.
For playoffs, they are easily a top 4 team, which it just makes sense because you look at the top 4 teams. 2 of them are physical teams. Now Team Vitality, Brazil, or sorry, 3 of them. One's a fresh team, so they kind of don't count. But Team Vitality, Furia, and Falcons. Put, former G2 now most likely NRG. That's your top 4. That's gonna be the case. Like I don't understand it. It is what it is. It's the first World Cup. I'm hopeful there will be more to come with just how successful it was. But we don't know. Speaking of success of Saudi Arabian tournaments, we do have a note regarding that here later. I think the last thing we got to cover on the World Cup side, obviously, teams like Turkey, South Africa, performed about how we expected, but obviously it still isn't great going winless, or not winless. I guess winless series wise. You had some draws, but you didn't win a single head to head. So, did those nations deserve to be there? I'm still more questioning what was the decision process, right? How did you decide what countries got countries in it? I would love to see more countries in the future, right? Let's break this out into 4 groups. Let's get get a ton of nations in here. Make it like a true World Cup. I would love that. I can't really bash Turkey and South Africa too much because they were selected. They showed up. They did what they needed to do.
I mean, again, like with Turkey, right? They did a little bit better than South Africa did, but I would also argue that they had a little bit easier of a group. But Turkey showed up with Jism, who is a FIFA content creator. He just happens to be SSL. He played no shade at Jism whatsoever. He played fantastically against pros. Like, no shade at him whatsoever. But like, I would like to know more about the decision-making process because, I mean, again, like people talked about Canada, but like Canada's gonna trot out Taroko, Squishy, and JNaps.
Yeah,
is that gonna be much better?
No, it's gonna be the old head squad. There's the retirement home. That is, they would place 6 in a group max.
I mean, there's an argument for Talk instead of Taroko, but I think they go Taroko personally. But like, I mean, and that one is well known that the Football Association Canada thought it was a joke. They didn't think it was like for real, and so they ignored it, and then the deadline passed.
That's insane. I didn't know.
So like, it like for me, it's like the McLovin thing, right? It's like, why is it between that and McLovin? Why was it between Canada and Turkey? Weren't there other countries?
Yeah, I mean,
like, I think maybe you could have tempted Cooks here to come play if it was, Italy. What about like, Sweden, who's got some good players? What about
Denmark?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It seems of all the countries you could have picked,
maybe Mexico, even with like a ZPS and some others.
Of like players from in the RLCS stage, right? I could not think of the last time I saw a Turkey player anything RLCS. Oh, little buffer. I think we're good now.
Yep, we're back now. But like I'm with you. I just so Scotland even too.
Yeah, Scotland. Definitely something they'll probably hash up and figure out for next time if there's next time. But at the end of the day, it was still a successful tournament. So not much to really go off there. I think we've kind of covered a lot of points. Anything else you want to hit on with the World Cup before we advance to the favorite section?
So, I am curious as to what you thought about the format of this tournament, about the group stages, the 2-game rounds. I guess is going to be the best way to say it. Not best of 2, but like 2-game rounds. And like, I mean, the playoff format is just a single elimination best of 7 bracket. Like that's, pretty vanilla standard. But what did you think about the group stages?
Loved it. I was a little confused. I was a doubter. The doubters were there. But loved it. I love the fact that it creates so many storylines when you have a team like South Africa, a team like Turkey that will have that random draw where the higher seed, the better team is gonna just let their guard down, not have a good game. That draw can mean everything because that is different between 3 points, 1 point. That's the difference between 3 points or 0 points for a team. Or 1 point. I'm sorry, not 3 or 1. And we saw there if draws weren't a thing, most likely England's making top 8. Without a doubt, I believed England makes top 8 if this is a normal Swiss stage format, but it's not. And because of that, because of these random draws that happen from teams having an off game or teams having a good game, it just creates that kind of, oh, I actually care about this series now more than I ever would have if it was a normal format. So loved it as a change of pace. We'll love to continue seeing this in the World Cup stage. I don't know if we should. I don't think the RLCS should copy this. I think this should just be a World Cup style for them. But loved the change of pace. Nice fresh breath of air.
Yeah, for sure. It kind of made every game meaningful, right? Like even in a series where you just I think back to the to the Brazil series that they dropped, right? Like seething back into free play. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Against Turkey, right? Back into free play. That's a huge result for Turkey. Like, they're not going to win a series against them. No way. But one game, that's huge. And especially in this format, it actually means something, right? It translates to points for them, which is exciting. And like you said, a breath of fresh air, something different. It's a format that we have not yet seen in RLCS, despite the multiple format changes we've seen. I think that it was one of the more entertaining tournaments that we've had in a while, non-RLCS related tournaments. But I think they hit a home run. I think that, like you said, I hope, Rocket League continues to be included in the FIFA E World Cup. I think it was awesome to see, and I hope that it continues forward. But, we'll talk about it a little bit in roster rumors. It's very possible it might. So, was there anything else that you wanted to add, or anything else that you had to say before we jump over?
I got nothing here. Let's go ahead and jump on over.
Okay, here we go.
I just had a great idea regarding the Reds.
Oh yeah,
that video. If we can somehow, I will throw in some money for it. Pay someone to make a cool transition animation video that follows along the Reds roster rumors, and then at the end of the video, it pulls up in text Reds roster, something like that. I think that would be so.
Okay, yeah, I'll look into it. See what we can come up with, and come up with a big transition.
Yeah, and then it transitions back.
Would you just do a big transition and it'll pull in your face camera and then a Reds roster rumors flashing or something?
Oh my gosh, yes. It turned a breaking news or like a newsroom, and you could your camera could be in the audience or something.
we need the LG broadcast team.
Yes.
Get it?
Yes.
Put us in the boardroom.
Put us in the boardroom. All right, Reds roster rumors. We just got a couple notes today. Nothing too crazy. The off season has been giving along with the Christmas season. However, obviously the presents have been brought. They have been wrapped, so it's a little quiet. To start off, world champion coach with BDS Mew is set to join Giant X as their head performance coach, competing in both LCT and VCT. So props to Mew getting back into the coaching scene there. Obviously they can perform well with their teams, so excited to see how they perform in the likes of LCT and VCT. And for those who don't know what those acronyms mean, it's League of Legends Valorant. Moving on, Swift RL is set to join Team Secret to team with Mata and KV1. That should be a solid team competing in the South American region. Excited to see them give Furia a run for their money. Do I think they'll beat Furia? Maybe in a weird one-off, but I still think Furia is number one from there. Next, a little note here after the World Cup. The Saudi Arabian government funded esports competition, the Esports World Cup, expands its club partner program with $20 million USD in funding. So there will be support for 40 teams in 2025. 40. We had 16 in the previous World Cup, right? So that was 8 per group. So we're gonna have 5 groups if we stick to 8. 5. That's a lot of Rocket League, and I'm here for it. This also may cause more orgs to pick up a Rocket League team, even though it isn't profitable at this point. We're working on it, I think.
We had 26 total orgs at the 2024 FIFA, the Esports World Cup.
Woo!
So almost doubling.
And finally, another note regarding organizations. Vas Roberts, the former CCO of Misfits Gaming Group, has joined French esports organization Team Vitality as its co-CEO. Bit of a step up from CCO there. So props to Vitality for getting another member to their board. Excited to continue to see them thrive in the esports world. And that does it for Reds roster rumors. Like I said, not a lot today, but it is the off season. We're getting closer and closer to RLCS starting back up. You'll hear a lot more from me once teams start finalizing rosters, and getting ready for RLCS 25. K-Cube, anything from you, my man?
The off season of giving might be almost out of gifts to give. It's almost Christmas. It's almost holidays time for Christmas, for Hanukkah. So we shall see if how much content we get to have between now and the start of the RLCS season. But it is just around the corner, so we do not have that long to wait. Thank you, Esports World Cup. Thank you, off-season tournaments. And I got nothing else to add. What about you?
I'm good here. I've done my part yapping for this. I think we are good to send it on home.
Okay. Well, with that, we would like to thank you all so much for listening. We'd like to please remind you to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, join our Discord, and rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts. Share the show, tell a friend. It really helps us out. Also, our Twitch, which we're currently live recording on now, usually like 90% of the time, it's Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern is when we do our live recordings. Please, show us some love. Follow us. We're trying to move towards affiliates so we can do some more giveaways so that we can continue to bring you guys the best content possible as we push towards that. Check out our TikTok and our Blue Sky. Also our merch store. All of these links and more can be found on our website, boostoverball.com, which there will be some changes to soon. We'll be adding some pictures in a gallery section to that, so make sure to be on the lookout for that. But from us here on the show, as always, remember to choose Boost over Ball. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Boost Over Ball podcast. Make sure to check out our website at boostoverball.com.